The Guidebook for a Good UN Tourism Secretary-General. Introduction by the former African candidate for UNWTO Secretary-General. Following my unbroken and continuous service and association with the UNWTO since 2009, beginning with my 4-year tenure in the Executive Council, followed by 2 successive terms as chairman of the UNWTO Regional Commission for Africa, I have willed myself to learn from my engagement and interaction with many expert practitioners in both the public and private sectors. Consequently, I have earned a comprehensive appreciation of the issues that are key to advancing this sector globally. The unanimous endorsement of the 15-nation Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, and the 55-nation African Union, AU, for my 2017 candidature is truly humbling and adds further to the honor I feel in submitting this statement of policy and management intent. iturbonews.com. I list here under my 4-pronged agenda. Administrative and governance reform of the organization. 1.1 Reform and renewal of the UNWTO. In our fast-changing world, where tourism continues to perform as an increasingly significant component of the global economy but is beset by a range of formidable challenges that threaten to reverse some of the major achievements of the past decades, there is a clear need for reform and renewal of the UNWTO as the overseer and custodian of global tourism if indeed the organization is to play an effective leadership role in successfully confronting and addressing those challenges, and to effectively respond to the aspirations and expectations of its membership. I would like to see the regional commissions becoming more visible, present, and operational within their respective theaters of activity and to develop much closer functional synergies with the tourism industry players in the regions they represent. I believe successive leaders of the UNWTO have recorded very significant gains for global tourism, perhaps none more so than the outgoing Secretary-General whose name and legacy are indelibly etched in the history and ethos of the organization. The nature and range of challenges that now confront our industry, however, require a new and different kind of leadership, one extending beyond marketing excellence into the realm of high-level diplomacy and statecraft, one which can effectively take the organization to a new level of global visibility, consequence, and relevance, and one which can deliver growth with equity and real value to all member states in terms of their aspirations and membership expectations. My vision for the organization signposts an incremental growth trajectory leading to a 15% GDP contribution over my tenure as Secretary-General. Ambitious? Yes. But attainable. 1.2 Universality. Membership is key to being truly representative or relevant as an international organization. It is a fundamental element of my vision to work towards universal membership of the organization and to actively engage those nations outside the UNWTO to consider joining or rejoining. It is only through such universal membership and truly collective engagement that the UNWTO will enhance its effectiveness and relevance within the broader UN family. It is only through such universal membership that tourism, through its cross-cutting presence within all 17 SDG, can fulfill its true potential as a significant contributor towards sustainable global socio-economic development under the SDG framework. Universal membership will also bestow greater legitimacy and authority upon our collective efforts to conclude a comprehensive code of ethics, which we must convert into a binding global convention to guide our industry by inducing peer review, fair, moral, and practice, and censure, including on the vexing issue of travel advisories and bans. The UNWTO must work to position itself as the recognized and ultimate authority about global destination certification. As we advance and facilitate greater integration and cross-fertilization of ideas and experiences, it may be useful to use criteria such as the level of socio-economic development or create a category/grouping for cities, communities, or products, again, seeking to inject more flexibility and relevance to UNWTO and rendering it more appealing and more meaningful to its member states. The criteria and procedures relative to affiliate and associate membership must also be reviewed to encourage and facilitate such membership to levels more commensurate with the tourism sector's projected growth and suggestions already alluded to. This will also help address the organization's current silo-like geographical compartmentalization and the associated, inevitable impediments to organizational integration and the effective sharing of ideas and experiences. I intend to foster tourism policy consummation, institutionalization, and positive working relationships between the UNWTO Regional Commission offices at the headquarters and regional economic communities, RECs, such as the European Union, the African Union, ASEAN Economic Community, AEC, Latin American and Caribbean Economic System, CELA, and others. We need to develop shared work programs, and this would not necessarily necessitate setting up offices but devolving work content to points of application and implementation. 1.3 Inclusivity. Universal membership of the UNWTO will provide the basis for a more fully inclusive organization, one that accommodates and fully reflects all views and seeks, through such inclusivity, to find comprehensive, all-encompassing solutions to the challenges confronting the industry today. As Secretary-General, and still on the subject of inclusivity, I will campaign for the right of every individual to enjoy barrier-free travel and product access around the globe, regardless of physical challenges, age, gender, color, or creed. Tourism for all. 1.4 Fairness and Equity. Ensuring greater fairness and equity in the development and growth of global tourism is another major challenge. The percentage share of global tourism receipts accruing to other parts of the world, such as the Middle East, Africa, and parts of Asia, remains low. I will facilitate the efforts of these regions to raise their share of global tourism performance. It will not happen on its own. The UNWTO has to work proactively and intensively with those less visited regions, with global tourism and other relevant authorities, as well as with the broader UN international community, to assist and advise in the development of sound policy options and practical approaches and programs to address whatever challenges they are facing, to enhance their respective tourism potential and to assist them in promoting that potential to the global traveling public. This will be another key element of my leadership of the UNWTO. 1.5 The Secretariat. As Secretary-General, I intend to maintain a lean and efficient Secretariat that can better respond to the needs and expectations of the organization's broad membership. I believe the Secretariat should reflect its broad membership in a fairer and more equitable manner. I would also want to see a significant improvement in gender balance within the upper echelons of the Secretariat. As Secretary-General, within the first 6 months of my mandate, I will, therefore, consult with the Executive Council to review the Secretariat to see how it might be reconfigured to better respond to the requirements and priorities of my reform and renewal agenda. Cautious structural adjustments will be made, considering the delivery of the current structure and the need for financial prudence, especially in budget deficit management. Resource mobilization and business development. 2.1 Integration. As Secretary-General, I will work tirelessly in this direction, bringing even greater energy and focus to the efforts already underway and seeking to secure tourism's place as an integral and indispensable component within the broader trade and investment value chain, harnessing its resilience and catalytic characteristics as low-hanging fruit. The organization also needs more effective internal integration, graduating past the current silo-based components and striving for greater and more visible integration and presence within the broader United Nations system. 2.2 Resources: a global fund for tourism and resource mobilization. While efforts have been made to make the UNWTO attain a fully fledged ODA status, more needs to be done in this regard, and the Resource Mobilization Unit established in 2010 is strengthened with more creative models pursued. I have already referred to the need for the UNWTO to engage more fully with other generously funded agencies of the UN family to ensure that tourism and tourism-related projects are included in their respective funding programs. As Secretary-General, I would first seek to engage national governments, specifically those in the developing and emerging economies, to commit a certain percentage of their annual national budgets to tourism. Similar approaches have been successful with regard to agriculture, the provision of clean water, and the battle against HIV/AIDS. In addition, I would wish to initiate a debate on the creation of a global fund for tourism, whereby agreed clawbacks from an already inordinately taxed sector fund this initiative. For example, a $1 per arrival levy discounted from existing taxes could provide $2 billion of seed capital for such a fund based on 20XX arrivals. These are some of the substantive issues for consideration by an International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development agenda come the 20XX UN General Assembly. I will consolidate the current system of voluntary contributions combined with innovative mechanisms, such as joint ventures or public-private partnership arrangements, as leverage to double or treble the seed capital to create a meaningful source of funding with which UNWTO could respond to some of the developmental aspirations and expectations of its membership. Tourism arrivals are projected to hit $18 billion by the year 2030, and they are a creative source of funding for infrastructure like airports, hotels, and conference facilities. However, countries need to be aware and encouraged to adopt such business modeling. Unless the UNWTO can connect in a practical, visible, and transformational manner with all of its members, it risks remaining a peripheral player within the broad UN family and its membership. Consequently, it fails to fulfill the enormous potential embodied in the industry it represents and whose core interests it champions. Responsible tourism and sustainability. Responsiveness. The organization's incapacity to respond effectively or practically to member states' expectations or aspirations has contributed to a plateauing and even a fall-off in terms of membership, which, unless addressed, will almost certainly lead to further withdrawals. Attendance at ministerial-level meetings is erratic and often disappointingly low, reflecting a perceived absence of value attached by ministers to such gatherings. As Secretary-General, I would focus considerable attention on boosting the organization's capacity to respond to the expectations of member states, those member states who look to UNWTO to advise them and assist them with the development of their national or regional tourism policies, programs and products, but also those member states who look to UNWTO for practical, collective responses to the many vexing challenges confronting the global industry today. The issue of tourism and security and the recent related efforts to impose travel bans on entire nations, the sensitive but unavoidable issue of migrants, the impact of currency fluctuation on tourism flows, pandemics, climate change, natural disasters, child sexual abuse, and so on, are cases in point, and so UNWTO, in collaboration with national governments and other relevant UN agencies, should be leading debate on all of these issues, arming itself with expertise, analysis, and opinion from its ranks but heavily strengthened by commissioned input from think tanks. Member states expect the organization to respond to these issues and to be visible and audible on behalf of the global tourism industry, both at the national government level and at international forums where such matters are debated. As Secretary-General, I shall strive to foster close synergies and cooperation with recognized experts in all fields relevant to global tourism. I will ensure that, in their deliberations on the way ahead, the Executive Council and, through them, the global tourism industry as a whole receive the best possible analysis, advice, and policy options about the many vexing challenges that confront us all in our chosen field of tourism. Tourism and security. Incorporated in the broad definition of insecurities and requiring timeless and sustainable responses and adaptation will be natural disasters, climate change, and biodiversity terrorism, mainly marine and terrestrial wildlife poaching. Whilst on the sensitive area of terrorism targeting tourism, I shall give maximum attention to mobilizing governments to protect tourism against this scourge through greater and enhanced security collaboration, intelligence gathering and sharing, standardization and certification of safety procedures, post-crisis management and capacity building of member states' alertness and response preparedness. Equally, I shall leverage tourism's soft power characteristics to complement government's deployment of hard power by further unleashing the potential of people-to-people diplomacy inherent in travel and tourism, whose kinetic force can never be defeated by terror. The 1.8 billion travelers forecast by 2030 are all potential peace ambassadors, and travel will be used to secure peace through more significant social interaction, tolerance, and cultural understanding. Tourism and migration. The intensifying focus on migration and the urgent need to find practical solutions to an increasingly complex and sensitive issue emerged very strongly during my recent campaign visits to European capitals. I have submitted that subject to some pretty exhaustive think tanking. It seems clear to me that some form of Marshall Plan is required to stem the flow of African migrants across the Mediterranean, a plan that focuses on enhanced and targeted investment in tourism and tourism-related enterprises and which creates employment opportunities across the continent so that, in future, Africa gives Europe tourists, not migrants. Equally, the same nagging question of migration in the Americas and within Europe itself cannot find answers in building walls, literal or figurative, or in reversing the gains of openness. Part of the answer lies in recognizing and proactively promoting tourism as an effective vehicle for job creation and economic empowerment. The kind of vocations that migrants respond to in their host countries are to be found in the tourism sector, blue-collar jobs in the majority of cases. With such enhanced and targeted investment, employment can be created in their home countries. Organizational repositioning and brand development. 4.1 Diplomacy. As Secretary-General, I shall seek to enhance the visibility significantly, and indeed my role as a diplomatic frontman for the global tourism industry by proactively engaging governments and relevant regional and international organizations and institutions in the search for practical, lasting solutions to these pressing issues. I will promote tourism as an effective vehicle for sound inter- and interstate relations, tolerance, citizen engagement, and a constructive soft power mechanism in the quest for global peace, social harmony, and understanding. The organization needs a leader who can engage at the highest political and diplomatic levels to advance the cause of global tourism and, in so doing, to raise the industry's international profile and relevance. 4.2 Relevance. Universal membership of the organization is one of my key policy intentions, which will enable greater inclusivity and much enhanced collective responsiveness to global tourism issues, which, in turn, will boost the relevance of the organization not only to the member states but within the broader UN itself where it commands low profile. The relative lack of importance attributed to global tourism and the lack of effort invested in more fully integrating and linking UNWTO, specifically the developmental aspects of the organization's mandate, to the more generously funded UN development agencies continue to relegate the organization to the periphery of global awareness, recognition, and relevance. Tourism's potential for sustainable socio-economic development, employment creation, and poverty alleviation is well recognized. Yet minimal effort appears to have been made, and indeed, negligible success has been achieved in attracting or directing the funding availed under the broad UN developmental agency network or even at bilateral cooperation levels towards financing tourism-based or tourism-related projects, most especially in the developing or emerging world. As Secretary-General, I must listen attentively and to endeavor to accommodate as far as practically possible the expectations and aspirations of all members. Permanent representation. The newly concluded headquarters agreement with the Spanish government, which provides for the deployment of permanent representatives, will be pursued in earnest in line with my vision to strengthen relations between the UNWTO and member states, consolidate bilateral and multilateral diplomacy, and ultimately improve the organization's branding and political clout. Addressing these interrelated nexuses of universality, inclusivity, representation, and responsiveness, and, with it, the objective of enhanced international recognition of the multifaceted potential of global tourism, will generate the global awareness and relevance so crucial to the future growth of the UNWTO. Conclusion. The essence of my aforementioned submission seeks to unleash the full potential of the organization and the sector that it serves, repositioning it as a government-led, private sector-driven, and community-oriented organization.